Hi everyone. Let's look at the attributes of a process. So there are various attributes related to process. First one is process ID. So what is attribute? Attribute is nothing but the properties. So properties are related to a process. So first property is process ID. Every process have their own process ID which will be used to distinguish between different processes. What I mean to say, operating system allocates different process ID to different processes, and based on the process ID we can uniquely identify the processes. Okay, so it is used for identification of process. The next one is program counter. Program counter is a memory which will be used to store the next instruction. For example, let's say a process or a program have 10 different instructions to run, and when it runs let's say instruction number 5th, then after next instruction will be 6th, but somehow this process or this program will be stopped and it will be seated in a waiting queue. Then whenever it will resume their job, then it will start from the instruction number 7th. So instruction number 7th will be stored in program counter. So program counter is used to store the next instruction to be executed. Okay. Next is process state. So through the execution, every process will go through various states. For example, the states might be ready, running, wait, etc. So all these states are nothing but a process will reside in some state and go to the other state. What I mean to say, whenever a process is created, it will first reside in ready state, then after it will go to the running state, and maybe it requires input output time, then it will go to wait state, otherwise it will directly go to the termination state. So there are various states related to that, and we will discuss shortly what are these states. Okay. Next one is priority. So various processes are categorized or identified based on their priority. For example, system process, the process which are owned by the operating system, is having higher priority compared to the user process, and higher priority process will run first, then the lower priority process. Okay, so priority is also an attribute of process. Next one is general purpose register. General purpose registers are used to store the values of a process. For example, a process computes some value, then it will be stored in general purpose register, and any process can use this general purpose register. It is free. I think there are total 32 general purpose registers which are used in computer, and all these general purpose registers can be used by various processes. Next one is list of open devices. So you know that in computer there are various hardwares. For example, printer, scanner, keyboard, mouse, all these are the devices or hardware. So all these devices are used by the process, and which process used which device, it will be managed by the operating system. For example, process P1 used maybe printer, process P2 used scanner. So all these devices are managed by the operating system, and it will be used by the various processes. And the last attribute or last property is protection. Protection means workspace, means every process workspace is protected from other process. For example, let's say we have two different process P1 and process P2. So process P1 will use their own workspace, and process P2 will use their own workspace. They do not interfere their workspace. Okay. So every process is every process have their own workspace, and it will be used their own workspace Do not use the other process workspace. Okay, so it is mainly concerned with security. Protection is mainly concerned with security or safety of process. Okay, so these are the various attributes related to process, and all these attributes, either process ID, program counter, or any other attributes, are placed in a particular memory which will be called as process control block. Process control block, PCB. So every attribute of process is stored in process control block called PCB, and various processes have their own PCB, and all the PCBs, process control block, are connected in a linked list manner. Means this is PCB1 of process P1, this is PCB2 of process P2, this is PCB3 of process P3, and so on, and all these are connected in a linked list manner. Okay, so that's all about the attributes of process and process control block. In the next video we will see some other aspects related to process.